Locked On Sports Atlanta on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Man, appreciate everybody for jumping in and joining us here on what we like to call the Locked On HAWKS postcast. First and foremost, appreciate everybody for joining us, whether you're doing so live right now or unless you're going to do so in the future, and for making us the number one sports podcasting network as well. So gratefully appreciative of that. Of course, DeShaun Tate going to be without Tanisha tonight, but that's okay. We'll bring her all back up to speed for the next game. Everybody's celebrating. It's a great time on tonight. 113-110, big time win for the Atlanta Hawks in what we call the Battle of the South Barbecue Series. I'm not even sure that I knew that there was a such rivalry called these things, but nonetheless, it is what it is. They add a number to the left side of the result column, and we'll talk to you about all of which, how they were able to do so, but not before I let everybody know that this episode of the Locked On Hawks postcast for today's episode, it's brought to you by FanDuel, where right now new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300. You'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app, of course. So be sure to go and head over to fanduel.com to get started. Wow, what a what a big time game for these Hawks. And of course, want to talk to you guys a little bit about how they were able to do this, some of the keys to the game, some of the keys to victory, if you will, what kind of ultimately sealed the deal for them. One of the things being, I think that in order for the Atlanta Hawks to come away with the win, big time no is don't read the name on the front of the jerseys, right? And you would think that they know better by doing so. I'm not saying that they did, but something they cannot necessarily afford, being the Charlotte Hornets that we know was entering this game on a 5-game losing streak. Make that 6 now, of course, and had been swept by the Atlanta Hawks all of last year. And people's like, wow, that doesn't make a lot of sense. What makes that a rivalry? Just for whatever reason, they tend to give, talking about the Charlotte Hornets, tend to give the Atlanta Hawks some issues from time to time, because while they swept the Charlotte Hornets on last year, prior to that, the 6 meetings prior to that, the Atlanta Hawks had went 1-5. Now they have 5 consecutive wins over the Charlotte Hornets. So for whatever reason, and obviously, as you can see how big of a game that this is, how big of a rivalry, and I think this is one of the Atlanta Hawks' most toughest games. Whether they won, whether they lost, it just seems like it was a fight to the very end, from the start to the finish. I actually thought that they were going to extend the lead maybe just a little bit, which I should have known better, because I've seen far too many Hawks games that I think we've kind of gotten accustomed to them finishing strong, right? With, you know, whether it being blowouts or whether they get leads, they win by a significant amount of points when they win. They look like once they, you know, if they're down in the game and they just so happen to come back, it looks like they kind of take off, you know, like a rocket ship from there. And then, you know, don't really put the end result in much question. But this one was just fighting tooth and toenail all the way down to the wire. So big thing, don't read the name on the front of the jerseys. And the Charlotte Hornets was obviously struggling, also being without Brandon Miller, being without LaMelo Ball. Both of these guys being big-time lottery picks for the Charlotte Hornets. And then obviously Coke Brenner, who's a rookie and one of the, I think he leads the league in field goal percentage, if I'm not mistaken, at a ridiculous rate, something really, really crazy. Started the year out really well, too. So they were without him as well. And all things being considered, you still got the hometown kid in Colin Sexton. Zion James, I think, was a starter on tonight as well, who's right here from the area. And Colin Sexton is just going to give you fits every single time you play him, no matter what uniform he is. I feel like he's like on his 3rd or 4th team by now, something crazy like that. But had a feeling that something like that could obviously happen. And, you know, I think the biggest point of emphasis probably has been the one that looks like he's going to run away with the Rookie of the Year award, being Knuppel. Him on tonight had 28 points, 7 threes he converted on. So for the guy that leads the rookies in scoring on this year, averaging 18 points a game, 5 rebounds, 48 field goals. I certainly don't mind raising my hand to say so. I didn't see this happening of, him coming out of Duke, but he shoots the cover off of it. He's got the flamethrower. He's on a heater in most cases. He showed that on tonight, but luckily enough didn't end up getting the win. But I think one of the other things that the Hawks really needed to focus on was kind of like simplifying this game. And I think that they did that for the most part. It was just a really tough game against a pretty tough competitive team, if you will. Again, for whatever reason that is between both of these teams, it's just, styles make fights or whatever fancy term that people use. But nonetheless, they always seem to bring their A game against the Atlanta Hawks. So I think it was just a matter of simplifying things. The Atlanta Hawks win, lose, or draw. In most cases, it results in a win. They've been able to do that, which is why they have been winning basketball games or keep themselves competitive and in position to be able to win games by simplifying it, limiting their turnovers, which I think was really, really huge. Only had 9 on tonight. Some of these games, I feel like they end up winning because of cutting down on some of the turnovers. Some instances and some times earlier this year where I can't necessarily say that I felt really good about their ability to be able to protect the basketball. Obviously, it's on a back-to-back. Shame. Assuming that's the reason why we didn't see Kristaps Porzingis. I don't love it. I'm not in love with the idea of sitting guys just to be sitting guys or getting rest. Why can't Kristaps Porzingis play on a back-to-back? No idea why. I don't know if it's in the contract. I don't know if that was discussed before, whatever the case may have been. But after the game he had on last night, I think he should have had his butt out there playing, just in my personal opinion, and helped out a little bit on Mason Plumlee. But, obviously limiting the turnovers. They did that on tonight. Find some balance in the pace. I think that was something that was very important. Of course, the floor spacing just opens up everything for this team, the Atlanta Hawks. Talking about the balance that they had on the offensive end, a team that is good at being able to slow the ball down, knowing when to do so, speeding the game up, knowing when to do so. And obviously that was a reflection on tonight where the Atlanta Hawks outscored the Charlotte Hornets 66-48, so nearly by 20 in the paint. There goes my hungry hippo narrative again that I tend to love so much. So they were able to do that and obviously outscored them out in transition on the fast break as well. 17-0. Very key stat on why the Atlanta Hawks is adding a number to the left side of the result column on tonight. So very good job of them. And I want to give a shout out to a particular player who I typically oftentimes do. And I just really hope that people can appreciate what he brings to this team. And that's Muhammad Gay. There's going to be instances where he's going to have 4 points in the game. There's going to be instances where I feel like he can get really close to 20, maybe some 16, some 18, some 19s, or some 15s and things of that nature. He's going to have some 11s, but he's definitely going to have moments where he's going to have 4, 5, 7, if that many in a lot of cases. But what he brings in terms of his energy is so infectious. It kind of reminds me of last year where we talked about Dyson Daniels and what he did on the defensive end. The reason why this team was so much more defensively improved last year was because of what Dyson could do on the defensive side of the ball. And it just made everybody hungrier to go out there and just want to be willing defenders, if you will. And I kind of feel like that's the case a lot of times when Muhammad Gay is on the floor. If there's a glue guy for this team, I'm not saying X factor, I'm not saying best player, I'm not saying best scorer, I'm not necessarily saying best defender, but he goes out there and he gets you blocks, he goes out there and gets you rebounds, and he creates second chance points for this team as well, getting on the ground after loose balls and creating just different opportunities, hustle points, I guess is what I like to call it. So giving him a little bit of energy appreciation, because a lot of times when he tends to do a lot of those little things, it ends up becoming infectious and rubbing off on the other guys, and other guys don't mind sacrificing their body at that point. What is it about this team playing at home? For whatever reason, I don't know. They just play so much better on the road. And it seems like that's all that the Hawks have been playing is on the road in general. So I guess shocker, right? It only makes sense. It didn't take an Ivy League graduate to figure that much out. But yet still, for whatever reason, it just seems like the toughest games are just being played at home. The Hawks now improved beyond improve, getting closer to that 500 mark. Now they're 3-4 on the season in 7 games, and what a treat that is. It's always amazing to not only be able to get a win, but a win at home, defending home court. I think it says something when you can win games on the road, because eventually you, in most cases, pull it together when you play at home. Nothing is worse than a team that can only win at home and can't win on the road. It's the opposite and reverse, complete 180 for this team. And I think they'll get it together sometime relatively soon, right? Fingers, toes, I's, T's, and everything else crossed, X's and everything else, that they'll get it together at home. But shout out to, all of the Hawks in general, but particularly for guys that scored 20 plus points on tonight. Of course, Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson, Nickeil Alexander-Walker again, right? Thank God we have him. Who knows where we would be without him. And Onyeka Okongwu. So happy we saw a big-time game from Dyson Daniels on the offensive end, because I don't know where that has been. And I still don't think he had a fantastic game per se, but I do think that it has helped quite a bit that we're able to see him put himself in position where he can kind of get that scoring back up in similar flashes that looked like last year, in some ways. And so, there's some guys that we have been waiting on for so long, some guys that we have been relying on for so long. Vit Krejci being one of them. He had been on the heater lately, shockingly and interestingly enough, only 1 point on tonight, whatever that was about. Of course, that came from the charity stripe. What other way would you score 1 point? DeShaun, of course. But even more so, when you have these instances where we waited on Zachary Risaché's big come out party on earlier this year, we were able to see it. Waiting on Kristaps Porzingis, we saw it on last night. Really nice to see it happen on tonight with Dyson Daniels. We're going to pay some bills, get to some things on the other side, talk about how this 7-0 run that the Atlanta Hawks were able to put together kind of prepared them for a really long night that obviously resulted in a 113-110 win at State Farm for the Atlanta Hawks over division rival, the Charlotte Hornets. We'll be back here in just a moment. This episode of the Atlanta Hawks Postcast is brought to you by Gusto. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes into play. To take all the stress off of your payroll, the benefits, and the HR so that you can just simply focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and super fast and easy. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or from hidden fees. It also includes unlimited payroll that runs for just one monthly price, which means there's no super surprise changes at the end of the month. Knowing that you can reach certified HR experts anytime gives you a real peace of mind. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/lockedonnba and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right, 3 months free. I didn't stutter at all. Of free payroll at gusto.com/lockedonnba. One more time, that's gusto.com/lockedonnba. This episode of the Locked On Hawks Postcast is brought to you by Wayfair. The holiday season is right around the corner, and of course, that means it's time to get your home ready for all those family members, the in-laws, the kids, the cousins, and everybody else is going to be trying to crash the party. Whether you need more seating for guests, cozy new linens, or fun serve wear for holiday hosting. Wayfair's Black Friday sale that's coming up. People, have your money ready. It's here to help you make your space shine like no other. And the best part, you don't have to wait. Wayfair's Black Friday deals are happening all month long with up to 70% off everything from sofas to spatulas. Listen, don't miss out on this early Black Friday deal. Head to wayfair.com now to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. That's WAYFAIR.com. Sale ends December 7th. Don't waste any time. And this episode of the Locked On Hawks Postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Of course, the NBA is back. What else could we be possibly here and excited for? And there's no better place to get in on all the action other than where? Of course, that's FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand and do a little bit of live betting, if you will, like you did on tonight with the Atlanta Hawks, you might have been sitting on the edge of your seat because you had a couple dollars on it. Try and put a little extra money into your pocket, of course. We already talked about how the holidays is approaching, birthdays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, exchanging gifts. What is it called? The white elephant or Secret Santa, all that good stuff. You got to have some extra cash. You might as well get some put in your pocket by getting in on all the action here at FanDuel, because the live bets from everything you own, from everything from who will score the next basket all the way to some of the fourth quarter comebacks. Saw that from the Atlanta Hawks tonight. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at an even bigger payout. I can use me a couple more dollars. I need to jump on that. It keeps every game super exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head over to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Appreciate you guys, man, for keeping it locked and jumping in here with me. Of course, big time win, 113-110 at the Farm, where the Atlanta Hawks extend the Charlotte Hornets losing streak to 6. So they did their part, and now back on a winning streak of their own and extending that now from 1 game to 2 for the Atlanta Hawks. Obviously, we'll talk about the, last play that kind of sealed the deal for the Atlanta Hawks, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but not before we realized that this team was prepped up based off of its 7-0 run that it had to create in the third quarter. And that, my friends, is what we call the turning point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
In such a tight game, a lot of times this is what me and Tanisha tend to do, is find out exactly where this game made a turn, where things just suddenly became different for the Atlanta Hawks. And I think that they did a fine job by finding one in the third quarter. Yes, you heard me correctly. I did not stutter. I said the third quarter, the one that they just, for whatever reason, can never get on one accord with and put together consecutive A+ quarters. Not that they put together an A+ one, but just seems give you the feel like they won it, not just by starting strong, but also throughout the duration of the quarter, and also winning the end of the quarter as well. So at the end of the third quarter, going on a 7-0 run, where we also seen 4 rebounds for the Atlanta Hawks, 2 of them being offensive, which everybody knows how in love I am with offensive rebounds, especially when you have guys like Moussa Diabate, who ended up with 5, but I think he leads the NBA, or only right behind Jalen Duren with highest offensive rebound average. There we go. Try saying that three times fast in the NBA. And he had 5 on tonight, but with averaging 4. Didn't happen during this stretch. The Atlanta Hawks had 4 rebounds, 2 offensive themselves. Of course, that led into a Jalen Johnson layup and followed up by a Muhammad Gay dunk. There goes the energy that I was talking about again, folks. Last but certainly not least, outside of that, there goes 1 block from Muhammad Gay as well. And then Nickeil Alexander-Walker drained the 3. So I think that just kind of helped put them in position. Now, there was obviously a stint in an instance where the Atlanta Hawks ended up giving up its lead and almost lost the game to the Charlotte Hornets. I think we saw the Hornets go on like a 17-4 run, like late in the fourth quarter, maybe like 3 minutes left or something like that. And Kennard had just pitched in and converted on his free throw. But I think that it was just more of a matter that the Atlanta Hawks decided to kind of crack down on this defense just a little bit and get some key stops at the end. I know that seems pretty obvious, especially when you consider the fact that Kennard has the ball in its winding moments, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker on the spin finds a way to strip him and obviously go to the free throw line and try and seal the deal and get the win for the Hawks. Everybody knows the story if you watch the game, but to just speak on the resiliency, to refuse to lose, I guess, if you will, if you're the Atlanta Hawks, and doing so without, your 7-footer and Kristaps Porzingis, obviously, and doing it without Trae Young as well. And to be honest with you, I really don't think that this gets talked about enough, because we always talk about the players that the Hawks are missing. You're going to miss X amount of starters, one of them being the elephant in the room, which is Trae Young, but no Luke Kennard on tonight. And I think we should all challenge everybody, diehard Hawks fans, to go back and look at Luke Kennard and see the kind of contribution and the production that he brings to this team off the bench. And when you don't have, when you're looking for ability to shoot well from the perimeter and just in general, especially on the perimeter, you look at 2 guys off the bench specifically, and those 2 guys are Vit Krejci and Luke Kennard. Essentially, both were disappearances on tonight. So to still come away with the win, I think just kind of makes things that much more impressive for this Hawks team that now is on a 2-game win streak, if there's such thing as a win streak, being as of 2 games. Going to follow that up and got some really big, important games that are going to be coming up later this week. So happy holidays. I hope you're looking forward to sharing them with us. Tanisha will be back with me on the next one. Keep it locked right here with my dude, Brad Rowland, coming up next, the Locked On Hawks podcast. As for me, DeShaun Tate, appreciate you guys joining me here on the Locked On Hawks postcast. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out. A-Town down.